Okay, this is some two-voice practice. It is uncounted, estimate about 100. Begins with a question for the record. So you booked these and gave it, and it was given a tag number of what?
Item number 1, and its property card B10665.
Okay, all right. What was your item number 2?
That would be 5 expended shell casings. Also they were photographed with number 6, 7, 15, 16, and 17.
Recognize number 101.
Yes.
Is that People's Exhibit 101?
Yes.
What is it?
It's an envelope labeled as item 2 containing 5 small envelopes.
And these small envelopes contain what?
Expended shell casings.
And is there a particular reason why they have number 6, 7, 15, 16, and 17 on them?
That was the items. That's how the items were photographed with those number boards.
Okay. So once again, these will correspond to the placards and to the diagram.
Correct.
And once again, the writing on them that we see there, the numbers that you just mentioned, is that written there by you or by Taylor?
I believe.
Let me show you a close-up here.
Those are written by myself, WCC 03, and I believe I can't really see it from here.
With the laser, what did you write on the other one that says number 6?
WCC 03, which is the head stamp identification, and number 6, which is the photograph number board.
What's just next to the number 6?
That is someone else's initials, probably the IBIS personnel. That is put on by IBIS. That's not mine.
That seal that is on the item?
Correct.
Number 7, is that your handwriting?
Number 7?
The small envelope from 101 that has the 7, did you write that?
That 7 is not mine.
Okay. The number 15?
That's mine.
The number 16?
That's my writing.
And the number 17?
I don't believe that's mine.
Whose would that be then?
Officer Taylor.
Okay. So the two of you were working together.
Correct.
All right. I'm almost done here. Let's see. Your item number 3 asks you if you recognize Exhibit 102, People's Exhibit 102.
Yes, it's an envelope. It's item number 3, property card B10665, and it should contain 3 small envelopes of expended shell casings, and that would be labeled as 8, 10, and 11.
8, 10, and 11.
Correct.
Once again, corresponding to the numbers on the placards. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And what about item 4?
Item number 4.
Let me show you People's Exhibit 103. Do you recognize
Yes, I do.
this item? What is this one?
That's a envelope labeled as item number 4, B10665, containing 8 small envelopes labeled as 9, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, and 20, corresponding to the photograph of the number boards.
How many envelopes are in this one?
6 envelopes.
Talking about your item number 4, correct?
Correct.
Do you have that property tag number in front of you?
I do.
The one that says page 1 of 2?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You see where it says item 4?
Item 4 should have 8
shell casings.
8 shell casings.
Maybe I misheard you. So are there supposed to be 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 envelopes
Yes,
inside People's 103?
yes.
Sorry, I misheard you. Thought I heard you say a different number.
I might have said differently.
What numbers correspond with the placards? What are the numbers of these 8 shell casings?
It should be 9, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, and 20. And number 19, there's 2 casings that were labeled as number 19 in the photographs. So there's probably like a 19A or 19B, possibly.
Okay. Can you see them on the screen?
Yes, I can.
For the record, there's 9, correct?
Correct.
12?
12,
Next.
13, 14, 18.
I'm putting 2 items here, one on top of another, showing you the top one appears to be what?
19.
And this one?
Oh, number 19.
Okay. And lastly,
20.
okay. And these are all item number 4.
Correct.
B10665, correct?
Correct.
All right. The last one I need to ask you about is your item number 5,
Yes.
showing you People's Exhibit 104. Do you recognize
Yes, I do.
this item?
What?
What is it?
That is a large envelope. Item number 5, containing a metal fragment.
Does this say 5 here?
Yes, that's number 5. I don't know. That's not my writing, but
Okay. Did you participate in collecting this item?
I collected the item at the scene. Yes.
And this will correspond with number 5 on your chart or your...
Actually, that's going to correspond with item number 28.
28. Okay. And what is this item that corresponds to the placard number 28?
It's a metal fragment.
And that's how you described it when you booked it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So then, without going into the other items we saw in the photographs, you booked those, like the Heineken bottle, broken bottle, and so forth.
Correct.
What about, may we have number 8, the sunglasses, please? And number 9, the hairbrush. What about the lemon container? You booked that and these other items.
Correct.
Okay. You recognize People's Exhibit 105?
Yes, it's a envelope, item number 8 from B10665 with the label sunglasses. That would correspond to photograph number 21.
Okay. And People's 106?
That would be item 9 from B10665, and it's a hairbrush.
And that corresponds to what?
That would be photograph number 22.
Okay. Look at my notes and see if I have any other questions. I think I'm about finished. Just give me a second if I may. When you booked all these items, many of which we've shown you today in court, how does it work? You put them in an envelope, you seal it, and you tell us. You put the ID on it.
You put it in an envelope. You write information on the outside so you can identify it in court. You sign the evidence tape. You put the tag on it, and it's booked into evidence. You have to put the list into the property system, and it prints out the barcodes for you.
How many years did you say you've been doing this?
6, almost 6.
Okay. When you find someone in a shooting, is it standard to try to find if there's any gunshot residue on their hands if you think there's a shooting involved?
Yes, that's usually standard.
Do you try to dust or swab hands of the people if you see them having been shot?
Yes, we do.
Is that normal operating procedure?
Yes,
In this case, did you do that?
I did.
With whom? With which victim?
Victim Dutier.
The one that is shown here in People's 8?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you do it? Swab it and put it in an envelope?
Little discs, plastic discs. You swab the hand, swab up the arm, and then it's sealed, and then they are booked into property also. There's one disc for each hand.
Okay. And the detectives or the DA or the defense, if someone wants to test it, they can send it off or request it be sent off.
Correct.
Do you know if it was ever sent off in this case?
I have no idea.
But it's available if anyone wants to.
Right.
The gunshot residue collection system, or what you do to see if there's any gunshot residue.
Right.
You said swab. You don't slide it on the skin. It's sticky and you just kind of like touch it to the skin.
Correct.
In theory, if there's some residue there, it sticks to the disc.
Correct.
So you take one disc and check all over the hand.
One hand. Uh-huh. Yes.
And so you use a separate disc for the left hand, separate disc for the right hand.
Correct.
And you only did that as to Mr. Dudier?
Yes, I did.
And then all the other items that you collected, you know, we didn't go through every one, but for instance, the bottle, when we look in the photograph where there's a bottle next to item 24, you booked that and you marked on there item 24, green bottle.
Correct.
And you booked it under the same property tag number, B10665. Is that correct?
Yes. Number 26. Is that what you're talking about? Photograph number 26?
Right.
Yes.
And that's true with all the items that we see,
Yes.
that we saw in all those photographs that I think were items 1 through 29.
9. Uh-huh.
And all of those items were booked on property tag number B10665. Is that right?
No, let's see.
Oh, I see. For instance,
There were,
the blood sample is on a different tag.
correct, and the hat, and one of the broken bottles.
Item number 27, one of the broken bottles was booked, but it was booked on 10666, correct?
Correct.
When you took that gunshot residue sample, you did this right there in the middle of the block on Sierra Nevada. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
I don't know if I asked you all this, but did you try to get fingerprints off the items like the hairbrush and Heineken bottles and so forth?
On some of the items, yes.
Did you succeed in getting latent fingerprints off any of the items?
I believe I lifted one latent print, or possible partial. I don't know what, I can't remember offhand. It was off one of the bottles.
Whatever prints you might have gotten, did you send them to the people that do the examining?
Yes.
So you do the collecting of the print, if you can get one, and there's another unit, does the comparison?
Correct.
So you sent whatever you had on to the next division.
Correct.
To do what they could do, if anything. Ask this general question. Maybe I asked, do these accurately show what you were trying to show that night?
Yes.
No trick photography or trick angles or anything?
No.
And have you had experience taking photographs at scenes?
Yes.
Are you experienced in putting down the placards and doing what you did in this case?
Yes.
and recording what you're finding?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This will be some timed two-voice warm-up. It'll be at 120 words per minute. Watch out. Just,
I thought I saw it.
I mean, I might be- I'm just going to pause for 1 second. Beginning with a question for the record. Are you aware if at any time treatment was administered to my client on that date and afterwards by medical personnel in the prison hospital?
I would have to check the hospital records, but in the normal course, treatment is always administered to inmates in need.
So are you saying that treatment is never denied any inmate, correct?
That is correct.
After the incident, did you receive some communiques from Parker?
Yes, I received a letter.
Did you receive a kite? You are familiar with the term kite, are you not?
I received a death threat, but I don't think it was directly from Parker. Someone had written a letter stating that Parker said he wanted to kill me. One of the inmates wrote it down and sent it to me.
So Parker never threatened you in your presence, is that correct?
Correct.
You are not sure whether or not you sent Mr. Parker a letter during that period of time right after the outbreak, are you?
No, I don't recall.
Now, you were acquainted with Dean Burbank, is that correct?
Well, I was not acquainted with him.
But you had met him before, correct?
Not that I know of.
But you were aware of him, correct?
I had heard of his name. I did not know where he was housed. I did not know him by sight.
I am sorry. I did not get the first part of what you said.
I had heard his name before. I did not know where he was housed in the prison. I did not know what he looked like. There are over 2,500 prisoners in the facility. It is impossible to become familiar with all of them as the warden.
Now, without telling me the exact nature of the communication, who advised you that a communication had been received from Parker?
One of the prison counselors mentioned it to me.
Was this personally or through an email?
It was mentioned at one of the staff meetings.
Now, did Mr. Burbank have a reputation in the prison as being a violent person?
Yes.
Was he a prisoner that was to be watched more closely?
You could put it that way. He had been in and out of cell 52 4 times in the last year.
What is cell 52?
Solitary confinement.
At this time, Warden Kellen, showing you what's been marked TT2 for identification, please take a moment to look that over. Does that letter bear your signature?
It does.
Did you write that letter?
Yes. Well, I did not write it, but I signed it.
Do you know who wrote it?
Someone in charge of the security booking housing unit. They prepared the letter for my signature. It was acceptable to me, so I signed it.
You relied on the information in that letter as being correct. Is that true?
Yes.
Did you ever question the author of the letter as to the truthfulness of the statements that were made in the letter?
No, it seemed satisfactory to me at the time.
So you never questioned that person?
No,
Prior to today, had you been aware of the incident that is referred to in that letter?
vaguely.
So you were not aware fully of the situation where Burbank had been stabbed in the yard, is that correct?
Well, I knew of the incident through the guards' reports.
Were the perpetrators of the stabbing of Mr. Burbank ever identified?
Well, we questioned several prisoners about the incident, but we were unable to identify the prisoners involved in the fracas.
Okay, beginning with a question for the record. Do you remember what time you left Bailey's Tavern in downtown Granger?
Yes, somewhere around 4:30 in the afternoon.
Why did you leave the tavern?
My son Greg had called me.
Now, where did you go when you left the tavern?
I proceeded up to Daisy Street next to my house.
Did you have your phone with you?
Yes, I did.
When you got to Daisy Street, what did you do?
Well, as I was rounding the corner, I noticed my grandpa was standing in front of his house. I talked to him for a few minutes in front of the house. Then I went in to visit with him and my grandmother. I checked how things were going for them.
How long were you there?
About 15 minutes.
Then where did you go?
As I came out of my grandpa's house, my son Greg was standing there. So I walked over to talk to him.
Was he coming or going? Do you know?
Well, he lives with my grandparents, and he was coming home to change clothes to go to his night job.
What happened after you talked to your son?
Well, I went back in my grandparents' house and fixed them something for dinner while Greg changed. Then we walked over to Aaron Whitley's house.
What did you do when you got to Mr. Whitley's house?
Well, he said he had some things he wanted to show us. So we went down to the basement of his house.
What kinds of things?
He had a couple of TVs, some computers, and all kinds of electronic stuff laying on the floor of the basement.
Was he trying to sell this stuff to you?
Yeah, he asked us if we wanted to buy anything. He said it was surplus items from the Best Buy store where he worked, and his boss wanted him to get rid of it.
Did you believe his story?
Yeah,
Did you buy anything from Mr. Whitley?
no,
Did your son buy anything from Mr. Whitley?
not at that time.
How long were you over at Mr. Whitley's residence?
About an hour.
What did you do during that hour?
We talked about each of the items he had for sale.
Did you take any items or buy any items?
No, he offered us one of the printers for free.
Did you take the printer?
No,
Okay. Now, after that, what did you do?
we came out of the basement, and just then a car pulled up.
Can you identify the car, the type, the make?
Well, it was a late model. It looked new. I don't remember the brand. It may have been a VW, black in color. I remember the shiny hubcaps is all.
What happened then?
Well, two guys got out of the car and started talking to Aaron. I could hear them asking about the stuff he had for sale. We kept walking.
Do you know whether or not Aaron had advertised the items he had for sale?
I don't know.
What happened then?
Well, my son had to go to work, so we started walking back to my grandparents' house.
As you were walking, did you hear any arguing between the two men and Aaron?
Yeah, I heard some yelling.
What were they saying?
I don't remember. Well, I really couldn't hear it at all.
Do you think you could identify those two men if you saw them again?
Yes,
Are they seated here in the courtroom?
yes, they are.
Please point them out for the court and jury.
They are sitting over there.
What are they wearing?
Well, one has a black suit with a gray tie. The other one has a blue suit with a blue shirt.
Okay, that's going to end our warm-up, and we'll start testing in a moment.